Hey guys, it's EvilNinjas99 here with EvilNinjas99. I could almost say that without laughing. Today we're looking at Pure Nexus project for the Nexus 6P. This is a ROM, and let me just tell you that it's a phenomenal ROM. Remarkably so. It's a really good ROM. Video over. Just kidding. Laugh, please. This device is rather early in terms of its cycle. I mean, it's only been out for a few weeks at most. I mean, developers are probably only getting their hands on it around now. So logically, ROMs are lacking at this point in the game. Nevertheless, there are a few ROMs out right now from Nexus 6P, including Chroma, Sinless something. And this one, which we're going to be taking a look at. This ROM is built on Android 6.0, of course, with its specific build being MDB08M, which is the latest build of Android currently available, which is nice, because by default my device came with MBD08L, which is, I mean, sufficient enough, but technically not the latest build. So what does this ROM offer? Well, it comes pre-rooted with Super SU version 2.52, which is nice. So if we tap that, it'll bring us to, of course, the application. So it is pre-rooted, which is nice. It also has native support for Wi-Fi calling, has fully working voice over LTE, which is nice. Chroma. No, the Chroma ROM does have it now, but initially it was released without voice over LTE support. So disregard what I said, for it is now irrelevant. Additionally, we also have something really, really cool. Let's hold on the power button. I guess you can already tell where this is going, and if you can't, we'll see. Or you'll see, rather, because I already know. Oh my god. Please. There we go. Yeah, we have a useful power down menu. Instead of just power off, we have the option to reboot into recovery, or reboot into the bootloader, or just reboot or soft reboot. So we have options, yes. I don't know why in Android's stage of maturity, it still has a very elementary, or rather inanely simplistic, power down menu. We want options, okay? This is an Android device. But thankfully this ROM includes that, so if you ever want to quickly reboot into recovery, you can even screenshot from this if you want to. You can adjust these in the Pure Nexus application, which comes with the ROM, and this is where the meat and potatoes of the ROM is. You have customization options here. At this point in time, I believe this is the most customizable ROM you can get right now on the Nexus 6P. This can change within a matter of a couple of days, but as of now, I believe this is the most customizable one. So we can take a look at the customization options right now. Sure, why not? We have lock screen. You have the option to disable media cover art. Who would want to do that? I really don't know. Perhaps it could be slightly distracting, but it's there. You can also set the lock screen wallpaper if you'd like to. Things you can do by default, I believe. We can go to the notification drawer. Of course we can. Oh, never mind. Apparently we cannot, because I just skipped that inadvertently. There we go. Notification drawer. You can show the weather in there, which is nice. So it shows the weather here. I believe no, that's fairly outdated weather data, I believe. There's no way it's only 78 degrees right now. Moving on. You also have the option of force expanded notifications. That's on by default. Status bar. This is nice. You can change the battery settings. So instead of having that very equivocal battery symbol, you can have the battery percentage, which is quite helpful. I mean, relative to the stupid little battery icon. You can set the clock and date options. You can position it on the status bar, which is nice. I prefer it in the top right corner by default. You can also double tap on the status bar to put it to sleep, but I find this to be a bit distracting or a bit unintuitive, because I accidentally press or double tap the status bar sometimes when attempting to invoke the notification center. So I leave that off, but it's there. And you can also adjust the device's brightness by just swiping on the status bar. We can do that right now, but then I'll lose then my exposure will go all haywire, so I wouldn't want to do that right now. But it works. You can just slide across the top and it'll allow you to adjust the brightness accordingly. Great. Alright, so navigation bar options. You can see that I don't have my navigation bar enabled. You can do this by editing the build prop file, which is rather simple. You just add a line of text at the bottom of the build prop file in the system directory or somewhere. But this is easier to disable instead of having to go through all that mumbo jumbo. I've said mumbo jumbo twice in the past couple of weeks. I think that's 2 more times than is socially acceptable. But you can enable it, of course. It takes up too much screen real estate in my opinion, so I disable it and I add Pi controls instead with an app called where is it? Pi control. Where is it? There we go. So in case you wanted to know. So you have navigation bar options, but I don't use the navigation bar, so that's useless to me, but it's there if you want it. Power menu. This is what I was referring to earlier, this shutdown menu. It's called a power menu for some reason, and it's capitalized like so. It's like a brand. But you can enable and disable stuff, which is nice. You have a lot of customization there, which is handy. Go back, please. There we go. Next, we have volume rocker. There are a few options there. My favorite is having the ability to change the song you're listening to by holding on the volume buttons, which is nice. Next, you have display. You have the ability to adjust the DPI, which is nice. You also have LED controls, which is nice. So if your device is on low battery, you can have the LED light flash red, which is nice. And you can also adjust the notification light to some degree. Although if you want to have greater customization, you should install an application like Lightflow or something, which will allow you to do something like that, although to a greater degree, because it's a dedicated application for doing that. Up next, we have notifications. You also have the ability to enable and disable the battery saver notifications and low battery notifications. Actually, that's a good idea. I don't need that low battery notification. I'm always monitoring it anyway, so good. Disable you go. And then we have a couple of utilities. We have a few utilities here. We have the build prop editor, as I was earlier discussing, which previously allows you to disable the soft keys, but now you can do it via the application. But if you still want to edit something in build prop, you have the ability to. Okay, let's grant that, sure. So you can do that. Okay, so that is it in terms of the pure Nexus application, which is where the customization takes place. Other than that, it does have a few goodies. I mean, it disables forced encryption, which is nice. Although encryption does, heighten the security of your handset. I mean, it does decrease performance. I guess insignificantly, sure, but it's still a performance hit nonetheless. There's some bug fixes and various stability improvements, and it's evident. This thing is fast though, lightning fast. I mean, I haven't had any slowdown whatsoever. Granted, this may be because I'm overclocking my phone. If we go into CPU-Z, you can see that my processor has a maximum clock of 2.05 gigahertz, or at least the A57 cores. And my GPU clock speed is always at 600 megahertz. Yes, this does decrease battery substantially, but my battery life is still pretty good. I still get about 4.5 to 5 hours of screen on time, which is pretty fantastic. Now, I am running a custom kernel. This ROM does come with the pure Nexus kernel or something, which I believe is just a slightly modified stock kernel. The Elemental X kernel is a significant deviation from the stock one. So I'm not running the pure Nexus kernel, I'm running Elemental X, which is another kernel, which allows me to adjust the saturation of my display and color temperature, etc., etc. But let me tell you, the combination of pure Nexus project and Elemental X is phenomenal. Probably the best combination of kernel and ROM you can possibly have at this current moment for the Nexus 6P. Geekbench scores have been phenomenal. I've gotten regularly 44 to 4500. There have been slight dips due to maybe potential processor throttling. I have gotten odd numbers like 33, 3500 every now and then. But my maximum scores are extremely impressive. This is probably due to the fact that I did indeed overclock my A57 cores from 1.96 gigahertz to 2.05. So that may contribute to the benchmarking enhancements, but still, even if you don't overclock the processor, it's still a very, very, very speedy ROM. But keep in mind that the kernel has a greater effect on your device's performance than the ROM does. The ROM merely adds features, maybe disables encryption, perhaps pre-roots your device. It doesn't have a gigantic effects on device performance. However, it does contribute to your performance considerably. Not as considerably as the kernel does, but still quite considerably. And luckily, I have had no issues with this ROM. It's probably better performing than the stock ROM. If I still had the stock kernel, it'd still probably perform better just because of the enhancements and stability improvements that the developer included. So a lot of things were enabled by default. For example, the developer settings were enabled by default. The system UI tuner, I believe, was enabled by default. Yeah, there we go. I didn't have to do anything for that. So it's already preloaded with root functionality with, developer options, although granted that only takes like 20 seconds to activate, but it's nice that it's already there to save you that 20 seconds, I suppose. There are a few tweaks in developer options as well. If we go to settings, developer options, please, thank you. If we go down to window animation scale and the animation scaling, you have more control over the increments. As you can see, it goes by increments of 0.1 instead of 0.5, which is a nice touch. I keep it at 0.7 if we can get it there. There we go, which is ideal for me, but it's nice that you have just that little bit of extra customization there. You also have the ability to view your downloading speed. So if something is downloading, let's just go to the App Store. Download, sure, Mobile Strike. Okay. And it's installing right now. You can see that when it downloads, it has a download speed next to it, which is really, really nice. And just like that, I have a nice freemium game on my hands. There are also some scrolling cache improvements and things of that nature, so it's basically going to feel zippier. It's going to be zippier if you use a custom kernel. However, the one that comes with the ROM, I'm sure, is just fine and allows you to do basic things. And even now, overclocking on the Nexus XP is kind of finicky, as Google has implemented this weird touch boost frequency thing. That basically means that if you try to overclock, it might not retain the settings that you added. So it's very finicky at this point in time. So I wouldn't suggest it, but if you're into overclocking, just use another kernel. But this ROM is fantastic, and to me, it's the best ROM currently available for the Nexus 6P. You also have to flash the ARM64G apps in order for it to work, completely. And you might, if you're coming from an earlier build of Android, have to flash the vendor image, the updated one. So conclusion, it's a bug-free ROM that's more feature-packed than Google's stock factory build. The only thing that enticed me to permanently switching to another ROM at this current time is perhaps more customization options. But even then, it's going to be rather difficult. That might come at the expense of the stability that this ROM really provides, so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe when CyanogenMod is released for the 6P, I might switch over to that just because of the fact that it's the most customizable ROM there is. But regardless, this is a phenomenal ROM. If I were to rate it, it'd be a 10 out of 10. There's no issue with it. Customization is moderate. It's not the most customizable ROM there ever was in the history of Android ROMs. But that's not its intention. It's just to be a moderately customizable ROM with unparalleled stability. There's no reason that I would go back to stock ROM. It's as stable, and it's just better overall. Highly recommend it. So, thanks for watching. If you want to look at the complete feature set, click the link in the description. It'll bring you to the XDA developers page because, of course, I was unable to review absolutely everything there is about this ROM because there's just so many, assets that this ROM has. So I'll leave a link in the description where you can read the feature set, download the ROM, etc. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know by leaving a comment below. You're 4 years old, I've determined that. That's why I'm talking in this voice. I'm going to play Mobile Strike now. I'm sure that's going to be an enthralling title to play. And I will catch you soon. You've just been Evo Design 9, and I'll see you later. Bye.